It is a fascinating exercise to go through a piece of music and to pull it apart before you even start to play it at the piano. If you go to the blog that I wrote about learning how to play a piece of music, you'll see the blog where I wrote about some tips that Graham Fitch has shared. And one of them was a tip on do not go to the piano. So do not play it. Do not try to play it straight away. Instead, look through the music and see what you can find. Identify the notes, look at the pitch, look at the rhythm, and all these, and look at the key, of course, all these sorts of things. So, in looking at this piece of music, and if you don't know what the piece of music is yet, then I won't tell you, so it can be a surprise. You can try and guess what it is. This piece of music is 2 pages long, and it is 2 A4 pages, so it's great for a beginner because it's quite easy. And what I like about this, it's within the octave. So as you remember, an octave is 8 notes. So the lowest note in this piece of music I've identified here on the keyboard is G, and it's above middle C, so it's G. It's in the octave. Just to recap, to revise, on the piano we have 8 octaves of starting from C at the bottom. You know, at the very, very bottom we've got the keys A0, B0, and then after that we've got what do we have here? We have C1. So this is what I call the group of the first octave, from C to C, C1. So all those notes in between, from D to B, are going to be in the groups of 1, so that it will be D1 up to B1. So octave 1, then we go up to octave 2, octave 3, and this is middle C, so this is what we call octave 4, going up to octave 5, octave 6, octave 7, and of course the last note is the 8th C, that's C8. So coming back to here, we've got 2 Gs on this piece of music. We've got G4 and we have G5. So on the first page, I've written these notes in black because they're only using 3 notes, the G and the A and the B. So it's all on the treble clef. So I've drawn out the treble clef here. And if we put these notes, transfer them onto the treble clef here, we can see that, as we know, middle C, if we had a note, that would be going down to here. So middle C is right in the middle, between the treble clef, below the treble clef but above the bass clef. So that's where middle C would be. Now the first line note is an E, and the second line note is a G. So this is our G. Our G is going to be played, going to go all the way down to there. So that tells us that's what it's going to look like on the music when we take a look at the music. So I've not shown it to you yet, but so you'll see that the music is written on the second clef, the second line of the staff. You know, we count the lines up, we've got line 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So on the second line we have the G. Now, if we skip up to the third line, that's where you'll find the B. So we've got G4 here, and then we've got B4. And sitting right between the 2 lines, we have, sitting on the second space, the A. So that's going to be A4. So just to revise, we've got 5 lines on the treble clef, and we've got only 4 spaces contained within the 5 lines. So what's the next note? So we've got the A down to here, and we've got the B down to there. Then what they've done is they've gone past the group of 4, because the C4 is here, C5 starts here, so this is where the 8 notes go from C4, and then it finishes there in C5. So this note here is going to appear on the third space, and that's going to be a C5. So that's C5. So you're now entering, you've now left the group of 4, because 4 starts from here and it ends there. So from the second space, we go into the group of 5. So we've got C5, then we've got the D. The D appears here on the 4th line, and that's going to be D5. And then we have the E appearing on the space, and that's going to be E5. Now we've got the G here. Now the G doesn't appear in the lines or spaces on the clef. Instead, it's going to be sitting on top. It's sitting on top. So the G is sitting above the 5 lines all by itself there. And this G has now gone past. This is still, so this is in the group of 5, octaves of 5, so it's going to be G5. Right, so these are the notes on the sheet. And now it's very interesting looking at the notes if we write them down here, because they are, it's almost like you're playing, well, the G scale. But just note that the key signature is C major. There are no accidentals in the signature, key signature, so it's just C, and that means that we're going to play all the white notes, so there won't be any of the black notes here involved, just simply the white notes. So you're going to, the notes you've got to choose from are G, A, B, C, D, E. And remember, on the first page you're only going to be playing 3 notes, the G, A, the B, which are here, G, A, and B. But to make it interesting, they're not going to play them in sequence. You're not going from G, A, B. They're actually getting you to skip. So they have you on G, and then they get you to skip up to the B. So they go from line to line before you then go step down onto the A. And can you remember how you can recall the names of the notes? Well, there's a trick for the treble clef. The treble clef here sort of circles around the second line, and so the second line is what they call it, sometimes called a G clef. Instead of the treble clef, you can call it the G clef because it sort of looks like a G. So the second line, any note in the second line is a G, and that's what we have here. This G, this note here is on the second line, so that's the G. And then remember, if you know that this is a G, then we're always going to memorize the notes. We've got this little acronym that we say. So from G, if we're skipping a note, it's G, B, and we skip again, it's D. So just remember G, B, D. And that's when you're going from line to line to line, or alternatively space to space to space. So G, B, D is what you remember. So if you know this is G, then if you're skipping to the next note, the next line is going to be B, the next line is going to be D. So G, B, D, that's what we have here. G, B, and D. There's a line, line, line. Now for spaces, remember that the first space is on the treble clef happens to be in F, and then we can spell it as face for the treble clef, F-A-C-E. So we know that the A is on the second line, so there we go, A is the second line. So if you skip from the second line to the line above it, if you skip from the A, here we go, the first one's F, you skip to A, from A you skip to C, and from C you skip to E. So F-A-C-E. Interestingly, what do you notice here? There is one note that's not played in this piece of music. So you have G, A, B, C, D, E, and G. So they have missed out the note between E and G, F. So there is no F in this piece. Very, very interesting. So these are the notes that we're going to be playing with the right hand, and in this piece of music they're going to be using your left hand to play chords. So I'll do another video for the chords, but these are the notes that you can get familiar with for playing. Now, if you'd like to do this on your desk bows, you can do, and we have the desk bows here. But because the decibels are pitched for the fourth octave, C4 to C5, C5 there, what that means is that we don't have the D5, E5 and G5. So when you play this piece, what we can do is adapt it so that you can play the DE, but you play, instead of playing D5 and E5, you can play them on the bows, so you've got D4 and E4. So here we go. On the bows we've got them here, the D and the E.